Oh, okay. So our experiment is working. Happy Martin Luther K. Jr. Day. It's holiday here in the U.S. It's also the day that we inaugurated our 45th and 47th President of the United States of America. And today we are live with J&J, Mr. and Mrs. Sab, are Filipino immigrant teachers here in the United States, located in Virginia. So for those who are here, perhaps watching us on YouTube or watching this later on after the recording, we would like to thank you for dropping by. Maraming salamat po sa mga gustong manood. Ang pinaka-goal po ng recording na to, ng conversation na to, sabi ko nga kaya na teacher Mr. and Mrs. J&J Sab, ang goal is to narrow the gap, perception gap of the Filipino immigrant teachers who migrate here in the United States. Isa rin siya sa goal ng dissertation ko. So maraming salamat sa pagsagot ng yes, parang engagement lang, no? For saying yes to my invitation to engage in a dialogue, a conversation between these two magnificent individuals. So I would like to invite to introduce them themselves. Taga saan sila sa Pilipinas, ilang taon na sila dito, yung ganon. I just wanted this to be like a casual conversation para kung sino mang nanonood, makakuha sila ng idea na eto rin ang gusto kong gawin, eto rin ang gusto kong path na itread from this day forward. So yes, I would like to pass the ball to you guys.
Thank you, Ma'am Rolly. And did you want to go ahead or did you want me to go ahead? Okay. First of all, Ma'am Rolin, we are very grateful for the opportunity that you have given me and John to interview today. We are not, I wouldn't say that we are we are number one in our field. I wouldn't really say that, but hopefully, upon sharing our experiences and maybe some advice to aspiring teachers, they would also be inspired to pursue the American dream. So I'm really happy that you invited me and John. So yes, for introductions, my name is Georgine Sab, and I am a teacher here in Virginia, United States. Before coming to the US, I was with Ateneo de Davao University, and I was a science teacher there for 4 years. Then the desire to come to the US has become strong in the year 2018. So in 2019, God allowed us to be able to come here with our family. Una kaming dumating sa New Mexico, United States. And we taught there for 5 years. And then we were on a cultural exchange visa originally. But, one thing led to another, one blessing led to another. And so I am on my 10th year of teaching here in Virginia as a science teacher.
Wow, 10 years na dito, and then you also taught 4 years in back in the Philippines. So 14 years in education system na.
4 years po sa Philippines and then 6 years in the US.
6 years dito. So bali 10 lahat.
Opo.
How about you, John?
Hi, good morning for those who are watching from the Philippines, and good afternoon for those who are watching here in the United States. Prior to coming to the United States, I have been teaching for 7 years. I have 1 year experience in a private school in the Philippines and 6 years teaching mathematics in public school. And here in the United States, we came last 2019, so this is also my like 6th year in teaching here in the United States.
Wow. So combined, let's say combine both of your experiences, that would be 10
Thir-
years and 6, 7, that is
13 years.
13 years for
Wow.
John.
ang dami, di ba? And yes, and gusto ko lang i-bucket yung natin, yung dialogue natin, kasi syempre kung hindi pa nila kilala kayo, they don't know you yet. They wanted to know like what did they do, ano yung naging experiences nila from when they applied here in from when they applied sa Philippines. Alam ko na meron kayo na kwento sa akin like your story about the airplane. I really wanted you to share that with people who are watching right now. Like what was that? Nakakatuwa, very neat yung yung experience na yon. So siguro simulan natin dun sa sa pag-apply ninyo papunta dito. If you would like to share that, and then parang let me imagine at that time na na nag-apply pa lang kayo papunta dito.
Okay. We started like, I mean, we don't really have plans like going to the United States and teach here, because somehow we're doing good in the Philippines. But one day, as Jane worked on like a visual aid to be taught, to be used in teaching like specific topic in science, and then Facebook is on, and then she wanted to share some experiences that we had. So ang nangyari is she took a picture of me because I was helping her like make some of those visual aids, and then posted those in Facebook. And then her aunt, who is living here in the United States, saw the post, and then she realized that we are teachers in the Philippines, and then she contacted Georgine to like somehow apply in the United States.
Wow, so it was an accidental, but then you
It
guys
was.
are preparing your materials for school, and then Facebook, timestamp natin ito. Kailan ito?
That was in November 2018.
Oh, so 2018.
Yes.
Okay.
So like what John said, we both had our own careers before coming here to the US. So we were both already teachers, and I would say we had a considerable amount of experience in teaching. Although we all know in the Philippines, life is not always comfortable. It is, it is a struggle to make ends meet. But so having a 2-household income was really helpful. But then I think I don't want to speak for everybody, but in my case, it has always been a dream to come to the United States. Ever since I was young, my parents and I would have conversations about you have to become a nurse so that you can go to the United States and become a nurse there and earn dollars. That did not work out for me. I took up BS in biology because that was a stepping stone for me to become a nurse. But, with all finances and all other constraints, that did not happen. And I ended up becoming a teacher. So the idea of going abroad has always been stuck with me. So si John parang na-drag along ko lang din siya na mag-abroad. But he is right. I mean, when I just randomly posted something about John helping me with schoolwork and teacher-related stuff, and my auntie happened to stumble upon that post. She is a teacher here in the US, and that's how she was reminded, because we only met once before. That's how she was reminded that me and John were both teachers. And for her, on her part, living here in the US, she was aware that there was a huge shortage of teachers in the US, math and science. So yes, one thing led to another. She communicated with us and opened the doors for us. So we're really grateful for her. She was there from process of day one until we got here.
How beautiful that story is, diba? You were just preparing for your lesson. You were not intending to migrate here at that time because
No.
the household was enough to live in as professionals, young professionals back in the Philippines, and then you just thought of integrating social media in your practice. Why not post things on Facebook so others know about our practice? And eventually, I believe it's not even an accident. I believe it's like it's a God's way of saying, hey, the seed that was planted to you by your parents early on, this is the time I want you to come over to the United States. So that was a beautiful start. Share with us the process. So the next step, your aunt messaged you or perhaps called you. Eugene, there's a lot of vacancies here in the U.S., especially with math and science. Special ed also is one of shortages in a lot of our school system. Walk us through what you did, the process that you took after that communication that you have with your auntie.
So she communicated with me in November 2018, and as soon as she shared that opportunity with both of us, I was very excited. So I went right on to making my resume, starting with the cover letter, and just gathering all my documents like yung ID, yung PRC documents, yung LET exam results, yung mga diploma. I just started gathering those, but also at the same time, we were made aware that this opportunity to teach in the US was going to be on a cultural exchange visa, which is also known as the J1 visa. We started the process in November 2018. My auntie connected us with the agency that helped to bring us here. And so from November 2018 to January 2018, it was, for me, the process was gathering all the documents that were needed for me to be able to secure a teaching license in New Mexico, USA. And at that point, I had to update my last name. When John and I got married, before John and I got married, my last name was still in my maiden name. So I was carrying all those documents in my maiden name. I had to go through the process of updating my last name to carry John's last name. So that took me 3 months in all. However, once I got all of it submitted in January 2019, I was able to secure my New Mexico teaching license in February 2019. And then John, who was still thinking about it because, he is my husband and I respect his decision, whether he wants to come or not. So it took a while for him to make a decision. And finally he did and jumped right on with getting all of his documents in. Well, it didn't take long for him to be able to get all of his license and documents in. So long story short, we were interviewed in
around April
2019. We received our letter of intent to hire in May 2019. We interviewed with the first school that interviewed us, and we both got in at the same time in the same school. So we were lucky because originally we were told that we might be assigned in different schools depending on which principal wanted to hire us. It so ended up that the principal wanted to hire both of us in the same school. So that worked out. In July of 2019, we received word that we were a go, and we could start the process with the embassy. And as we had our embassy interview in August 2019 and came here in September 2019. So all in all, the process took less than a year.
Less than a year for both of you to process.
Yes.
I'll backtrack. John, what was in your mind why it takes like about 3 months to convince you to migrate here in the US as compared to others who have been preparing? Like for myself, it was my goal ever since. I want to go and teach in the United States, or I want to go and migrate. What take you some time to think about it? What was running in your mind why you're
So
being hesitant?
yeah, I mean, I was doing good, like teaching in the Philippines in my field in public school. I have a very good like co-workers, and the work environment so good, so great for me, and I don't want to leave. Um,
It was his comfort zone.
it was my comfort zone, really. And then one thing also is that um, I'm not really like convinced, like me seeing myself like teaching American students who are like English speakers. And then by that time, so I was really hesitant, but um, she convinced me to apply. And then yeah, why not give it a try, and then we'll see we'll see from there. And yeah, both of us were hired
At
in the
the same
same school.
time.
Mhm,
Same time.
So it was because your comfort zone was there. You have your safe space, but then you are second guessing yourself how I might be able to teach students from the United States when my English is a second language for myself. So that was
That's true.
running through your mind.
We're also thinking about like how much would the budget would be,
Yes, the
like
cost
I mean the cost of
was a
processing
factor.
everything. Um, it's not cheap, shall we say. So yeah, that's one of the considerations that I thought. But we know that God provides, so we took a leap and then
Mhm.
So
go.
like many other head of the family, you were thinking of the
Yeah.
financial things to take care of everything. And if Georgine is going, you were thinking if I would go with Georgine, it might be a huge money that we can't afford.
It will
Yes,
double.
true.
It actually really had to double because I was applying and he was applying too. So yeah, that was a big financial issue, but we knew that, if you have a dream and it is a desire, our desires, I know, are not from us, but it is a divine gift. So if the desire is there, I know that, we just knew that God will orchestrate whatever path he would for us to make dreams come true. So
It was a leap of faith to take
Yeah.
the responsibility and just go for the unknown. It's an adventure of the unknown,
Sure.
but unknown that will go further the life that you have and the life that your young family at that time is building. So tell us like what happened when you guys, all of the papers are done, like processing, less than 1 year of processing the paper, all the licenses, and there's an offer already, and your school where you're going is ready. um, Walk us a little bit of that like little experience. Let us pick through the experience when you go to the airport. Tell us about it.
So um it was really our first time to like to have an international flight, first international flight. And then with all the expenses that we had already processing everything, we don't have that really much money in our pocket, like coming here in the United States for like some other expenses that we will have. But um when we had our first flight from NAIA Terminal 3 going to Japan, it was crazy because we did not really know that the airport that we will be landing in Japan is the same airport, or it's not the same airport that we will be taking off from Japan going to the United States. So it was like a night before.
Yes. So, with like what John said, considering all the financial expenses that we had already spent on processing our documents, we had to save up and we had to make sure that we were buying the cheapest tickets to the United States.
Cheapest.
And
Connecting flights.
cheapest tickets to the United States. And at that time, we thought we were lucky to find the cheapest ticket at that time, not realizing that the ticket that we got was from NAIA to Japan to US. It was a connecting flight, but the ticket got us to
Different
land
airports.
in one airport in Japan, and we had to take off to the US from another airport in Japan. So it was Haneda Airport and Narita Airport. We did not know that those two airports are not beside each other. In fact, they are an hour and a half away from each other. And we realized the day before we were flying that those were two different airports and that we had to secure what we call a transit visa, because technically we were going to be exiting one airport and then we had to travel across Tokyo to get to the next airport. And even if it's just an hour and a half in Tokyo on a bus, you would still have to secure a transit visa. So that was an unexpected expense on our part. But so glad we had a little bit from our budget left to buy the transit visa when we got to the airport. So yeah, but it was unexpected. So that was our first surprise.
Surprise expense.
Surprise expense.
And then it was like what we said, it was our first international flight and we don't really know what's happening inside.
We didn't know what to expect.
And then
we knew that the food was free.
Mhm.
We knew that the food was free on the international flight. Do you remember what they served us? It was sushi, sashimi.
Yeah.
It was really good food.
Oh, okay.
But they also offered us earbuds that were in a little bag, plastic bag,
Blanket.
and a blanket that was in a plastic bag.
Mhm.
And so that part we did not know was free.
So what happened
did you
was
do with the blanket?
we did not really open the blanket. We did not use
open
it.
the
And then we
earbuds.
did not use the earbuds because we don't want to be billed with something once we get out from the airplane. So we just stayed there 4 hours. Like it's a 4-hour flight from Manila to Narita Airport, and
The airplane, it was cold inside the airplane.
yeah.
And
cold,
we
like
did not want to open the blanket. We didn't want to open the plastic bag and use the blanket because, so we were asking each other, ano ba to ba? I-charge ba tayo nito? And we didn't really have
Natakot na.
any more extra, so we did not open it. So we had to endure the cold inside the airplane because we did not know that the blankets were free, and we were too embarrassed to ask the flight attendants, is this free? So
We should have.
we should have asked. I'm sure it wouldn't be a big deal, but yung iniisip mo na, I don't want to embarrass myself, so let's not ask.
That was a crazy experience. But when we flew from Haneda Airport going to the United States already, we knew that everything is free and like we used everything and we ordered.
This time it's a second timer now.
Yeah, it's like how many hours was it?
It
Like
was 15
15 hours.
hours, 15 hours from
Haneda.
Haneda, it was in Tokyo. Was it in Tokyo?
Yeah, in Haneda Airport. And then
Airport.
our port of entry here is like
It was in
in
Dallas,
Dallas,
Texas,
Texas.
DFW. Mhm.
Mhm.
So that we knew then that, oh my goodness, this is all free, but so
Took a while for
it
us
took a
to.
while for us to realize that it was free.
It's part of the plane ticket that you paid them.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah, I could relate because in the Philippines, when you are flying local flights, anything that you will take from the attendant, you have to pay.
You have
Yeah,
to
that's
pay.
true.
Mhm.
Yes, peanut, you have to pay.
Unless you purchased it like in advance when you're buying the ticket, then it's free. But
Mhm.
if not, then you're gonna pay for it.
Yes.
So it was like a running automatic thinking, like I am not taking this because I might end up
That's right.
paying. That was fun. And then when you land in Texas, Dallas, Texas, walk us through, like, did someone pick you up there? Were you a group of teachers that arrived, or was it only you guys? How was it?
It was only the two of
Yeah.
us. So we had
Connecting flight.
Yeah, we had connecting flight. We had 4 other batchmates who were hired the same time as us, but they had already planned their flights ahead of us. So it was really me and John who took a while with all the expenses considered. And so we were the last to come. But then, yes, but it was within the same week. We landed our port of entry was in DFW, Dallas Airport. We had to go through immigration. And I remember my sister telling me, don't stop praying until you walk past the immigration interview, because there is another immigration office where it's like your port of entry, they check your documents, making sure that you're not bringing in anything that is not allowed in the United States from abroad. And one funny story, because I love my chicharon. Gusto ko talaga yung chicharon. Yung slurs na brand, Cagayan de Oro na chicharon, yung Bisaya version of the chicharon. And I knew I forgot to buy one from the mall before going into the domestic airport. So when I got to the NAIA airport, I made sure to buy my chicharon, and I had to hand carry my chicharon because I wanted to eat it during the flight. Then in Japan, I brought in my chicharon. They had no problems with it, but at DFW airport, they asked us, "Oh, may dala ba kayong yung dried fish?" So no. And recognizing that we were Filipino, the immigration officer asked us, "Do you have balut?" Oh my goodness, he was very familiar. And we said no confidently, but then he asked, "Oh, what food do you have in your bag?" So that's when I realized.
Yeah, we were so nervous that time because like they saw it in our luggage, and then we were called to, oh, you need to go here
Step
because
aside. Yes.
they need to check our luggage, and then they saw the
Found
chicharon.
my chicharon. And that was it was an innocent mistake. I did not, I just thought of chicharon as chips, so it was okay in my mind. But they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, you cannot bring in your chicharon." So that was, but then from DFW airport, we had a connecting flight to Roswell, New Mexico.
It was a crazy like experience also in DFW because like the airport's so big, and then our next terminal is like far away from the one that we have arrived with. So we need to like
We had to
ride
get
the
on a,
what
what's
do you
that
call
called?
them?
Yung tram.
Yeah, the tram.
Nag-tram
And that's
kayo.
our first time
So
to be in the tram as well.
we landed in one terminal of DFW and checking our what's this called, the ticket. We had to go and move to another terminal to catch our flight from to Roswell, New Mexico. And we realized that the airport was huge. It was nothing like Naia, it was nothing like even Davao Airport. It was big. And according to the signs, the instructions, we had to take a tram from one terminal to another. So there's a tram inside the airport. We were like, oh, we are really in the United States now. So, and then we were picked up by our
Roswell.
agency people.
Yeah, it was a small airport. We landed in Roswell. And then our
agency person
picked us up from there, and then we drove, I think, 2 hours going to where we were first assigned in New Mexico. And it was also like a very surprise experience for us because it was already like 9 p.m.
9 p.m.
So
Okay.
we expect
So from,
that
how many hours of flight from the Philippines to like Roswell?
All in all,
that would be like what, 19 hours
it should be like 19 hours,
without
but
the
without the layovers.
the layovers.
But with the layovers from Davao International Airport to Manila to Japan to DFW and then Roswell, we were traveling for 29 hours, flight and layover in all.
So more than one day you have
More
been
than one day.
Yes, and then now you are getting ready to ride a car. Was it a car to go to where you need to live?
Yes.
And it was like it's already 8:30
In the
evening, and then
the sun was still up.
Like, oh my God.
Were you surprised that it's already 8:30 and the sun is
Yes.
still up?
Because in the Philippines, like around 5:30 or
It's
6,
sunset already.
it's already sunset, it's already dark. But during that time, it's like it's still
We arrived in the summer, so we arrived in August, so it was still summertime. No, September. It was still
September. So
summertime.
almost fall, going to fall already, but it's still like daylight on an 8:30,
Yeah.
almost 9 o'clock.
Yes.
Now, tell us what happened in the car. Like, what were you thinking? Recollect what happened in the car. Like, were you already thinking, wow, this is America? Or, wait, is this America? Which one of that?
when we were in like
In
Dallas
Dallas.
Airport, we were able to say that, oh, this is
This is
really
America.
America. And then when we start like riding the plane going to Roswell, it's really like a very small plane. And then get to Roswell Airport. The airport is so small, and then they don't even have that, like, what do you call that one in the airport where you're going to get your luggage?
Your luggage.
Yeah, they just grab it and then like pick it those things from there, and then we start driving to 2 hours. I slept in the car because I was so tired, and then it was like it's like so plain and there's no building in New Mexico.
The part where we were driving in from Roswell to because we were in Alamogordo. So that's Alamogordo is a nice little town where the Holloman Air Force Base is located. So it's a town mostly with military families, and it's more of a retirement town. It's a really nice little place, but it was not what we imagined United States of America to be. Because if you think about United States of America from the perspective of a person who wants to come to the United States of America, you think of New York, you think of the skyscrapers, you think of California, you think of
DC,
Washington
White House.
DC. And then when during that drive from Roswell to Alamogordo, it was very pretty, but it was nothing like what you would see in Hollywood movies where there are tall buildings. So it was nothing like that. It was mostly, deserts and nature. So it was not what we expected it to be. And when we arrived in the town of El Mogordo, it was really small. It was quiet and peaceful. So it was not a bustling city or town as we would have imagined USA to be. So
So there was a big shift right away
yes.
there,
Mhm.
with how you see, America as it is, and you are learning that, yeah, there would be places that is huge, big. Yes, this is America, and then when you move to another, wait, is this America? Yeah, it was a
So
neat experience at that time, isn't
it
it?
was a realization that how Hollywood portrays America is not all that it is. United States of America in itself, the geography is diverse. So we had the opportunity to travel later on to the different states, and it was a huge blessing to see many different states in the USA. And we realized that each state has its own flavor. It's not really that one state is bad and the other is good, but
Yeah.
it's like they have their own flavors, they have their own culture, they have their own taste. So
Yes, the 50 different states are all 50 different variety of
yes,
culture, richness of different people, and just the experience that you are about to experience or you experience over the course of time that you would be here in the United States. And
yeah.
now you guys moved here in Northern Virginia.
Mhm.
So from visiting cultural exchange teaching visa, which is a J1, you were able to be blessed to shift it to another visa. And what visa is that right now? Are you
So
allowed to say it even?
they call it the I think a lot of people know we were able to we were blessed to be granted an EB1A. This is what you call the first preference, uh, employment-based first preference visa, um, also known as Einstein Visa, as many would call it, because EB1A is a handful. It also stands for Alien of Extraordinary Ability Visa. It is one of the most challenging visas to acquire, but we had people, generous and gracious people, help us along the way, supported me in acquiring the documents that I needed to present to immigration. Um, and number one na tumulong sa atin ay si Ma'am Melody, who's also a Filipino teacher. She was very gracious and very generous of her ideas, and we owe a lot to her for helping us. And we had
Mhm.
family helping us throughout the process. We did not expect it, because we know that it's a far reach, but
Yes.
but realizing that we had nothing to lose at that point, so
Mhm.
so we were lucky enough to to be able to jump to another visa.
Yes. EB1,
Hey.
A
EB1,
EB1A
EB1B.
EB1A.
EB1A. Okay, so that is what you call the Einstein Visa, which means that you have reached the highest. You are the exemplary staff, if you will. Yeah, you have done a lot of tremendous things over the course of 5 years that you were here in the United States. Yeah. So a current challenge that a lot of our Filipino teachers experience is the first 3 years, or let's micro it to first year. And typically, a lot of this are shifting our pedagogical practices from the Philippines to here. So walk us through your first year. What was the first challenge that you guys had? What did you do to be able to shift those practices from the Philippines and here in the United States?
So is it okay I go ahead and
Yeah.
answer this one? Okay.
Kwento? Kahit
So
sino.
I was checking with him because I know that he also has his ideas, and he He has really good ideas.
We almost have like the same
The same
experiences because
experiences.
we
Yes.
worked in the same place. So
Yes, we worked
Yes, yes. You were blessed to be able to work together in one
together.
school. Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So we were each other's support system. But going back to the question of, so it's very, so I think me and John, we both already had the idea that when you move from one country to another, you are carrying with you your culture to a place that also has its own flavor, that also has its own culture. And so, as cultural exchange teachers, then it was important that there was an acknowledgement of who we are as Filipino teachers and a recognition and an acknowledgement of who our students are going to be and who we will be working with and what kind of values that the people we will be working with have, and to just be able to be flexible and be able to adjust. So before coming, we read up on it. Do your research. To those teachers who aspire to become teachers in the United States, do your research about the place, do your research about the ways of the American culture, and thinking that you don't, as a Filipino teacher, you don't have to drop your identity. Celebrate your identity. Take all the parts that are good and put that forward. So that's the best thing that I could say. All the good things about us being Filipino teachers, we're patient, we're resilient, we always deliver our very best. So take those and bring those forward. So that's exactly what we did. So that was the mindset, but also that we have to be flexible and teachable. Dahil yun ang nagiging difficulty ng maraming teachers from abroad upon coming here to the United States, is when, yes, it's good that you bring your identity with you, but you have to be flexible and teachable, and you really have to learn to adapt to the ways of the kids that are here. So one of the biggest challenges that I had was the little things of classroom management that we do in the Philippines compared to the US. In the Philippines, this is just one really solid and concrete, simple example. In the Philippines, as soon as you walk in, you are used to your students standing in a chorus and in a chorus greeting you, "Good morning, Mrs. Sab," or "Good afternoon, Mrs. Sab." And then there is an establishment of authority as soon as you walk in the door. But in the United States, it's different. You earn your authority. You don't, what's this called? Like, hindi mo siya ma-impose. You don't impose the authority. You earn it from your students. So the main difference is that at the beginning of class, you stand by your door and then be ready to welcome all your students, greet them, appreciate them, and start them on a positive note for class by greeting them. So they may not greet you back the way that our students in the Philippines would, but it is a way to welcome them and also a temperature check of how they are feeling for the day. And at first, I didn't like that. At first, it was strange, but I later on appreciated the way that we have to greet our students here in the United States, because it's a way for us to know how they are feeling for the day, and you're not caught off guard of any behaviors that they show throughout your class period later on.
Yes. So that was a big shift right away there, from having that imposed authority in the Philippines, that it is freely given to you right away, and then when you come here in the United States, that you have to earn that respect. And there's so much openness with the teacher that you have to put as a mindset, because once even though you are, yes, it's good to carry with you your own identity as a Filipino immigrant teacher, but when you come here, you have to really adapt to the new culture that you are going to be with as a teacher. How about you, John? Tell us what your first like shift with practice. What was that? And yeah.
So it's pretty much the same with Jine. Our experience in our first school that we have worked on with. The only thing is that, you know, kids in the Philippines and kids here in the United States, there's really a big difference when it comes to like respecting teachers. So,
Mm-hmm.
like what she said, respect is earned here in the United States. If your kids like see that you really cared for them,
Yes.
that you are there to help them,
And that you are on their side.
yeah, that you are on their side, and then you will not be really having hard time like
That's right.
with classroom management and everything like that. So, you know, we Filipinos, we are like innate like caring person, and we do our best, we are hardworking. So
Mm-hmm.
we just you just need to show that, and then show that you care for your students, and yeah, and everything
Everything else will
will
follow.
follow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You mentioned about caring that is innate in us. So
Yes.
bring that good caring personality or characteristic with you because it will naturally show up to the class, and that you will easily earn respect from them once you care for them, genuinely care for them, and you're authentic with your feelings.
Yes.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Was
Yes.
there any like did you was there a challenge that you can name on the first 3 months of the first school year that you had?
Wait, let me recall.
I have
It's been a
something.
while.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
go
okay.
ahead.
Oh, go
So
ahead.
on my so John and I, we arrived in our school and started teaching in September. It was technically already a month away from the beginning of the school year.
Also, New Mexico starts August.
August.
August,
Okay.
yes. So they start in August, early in August. And so the kids that we arrived to already had established friendships and relationships in the classroom, and they had their own, they had their own bubble already together with a substitute teacher. It was so the reason that we were brought in is because it was hard for the school to find math and science teachers and sped teachers at that point. So
Mm-hmm.
for a month, more than a month, the students that we arrived to did not have a classroom teacher. They had substitute teachers, and they were switching from, every week with different substitute teachers. So there was no established routine. There were no rules. I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that the substitute teacher tried their best. Um, but with substitute teachers, it's always a first day of school for them.
Yes.
So it's hard to
Everything
really
is the first
establish
day.
it's hard to establish rules and routines. So when I arrived in my classroom for the first time, I had my first day of orientation, routines and rules, which the kids, it was a challenge to have them cooperate and
Mm-hmm.
agree with the rules and routines. But I had found that what had helped is to make them understand why it's important to follow the rules and routines, that it is not to my benefit, but it is to their benefit. So, what I've learned early on is that make the kids understand why we do things in the classroom as we would do them, and make them understand that it's not for the benefit of the teacher, but it is for their own benefit. And when they start understanding that it's not to make Mrs. Sub's life easier, but to make each of our lives easier as students in the classroom, it's like a switch that clicks, and okay, we're back in it. But it took a while. It took a while because there was some resistance,
Mm-hmm.
there was some hesitancy, and the number one thing that I had to remember and John had to remember is do not fight with the students. Do not engage. Always approach with curiosity why they are not doing their work, why they are not participating. Approach with grace and curiosity. And sometimes these kids just need a break. Give them what they need, and they will be acknowledge their need, and they will be happy to come back with a better attitude. So, but that took a while. It was a in and out process. It was a process. But you just have to constantly, you have to be consistent with what you are showing the kids. If you're showing grace and kindness on the first day, you have to stand by that mindset all the way to the end of the school year.
So it is opening it up in a way that you are consistent and you care for them, and that in any way be professional. Professionalism is a key thing in being a teacher here in the United States. So if ever you are a high school teacher, middle school teacher, where a lot of hormones are developing, especially with you, Georgine, you are in middle school, and John, you are in high school as high school teacher. There's so much to adjust in that their mental health, to be able to recognize them that this is a process. And I like that you mentioned about the process. John told me that you guys have an appointment, so we're going to pause this conversation. We are just halfway with our conversation. So thank you so much for your time. And we're going to pause this, and I can't wait for the next time that we're going to have a dialogue, hopefully soon, so we could continue the conversation. And I just recognize also that you have also things that you needed to do. That's the life here in the US. There's always schedule. There's so much to do, and we have to make sure that we honor that I honor your time. Thank you so much. And for anyone who is watching this right now or will be watching this when it is aired in the cloud, I'm still new to these things. I told John and I told Georgine, this is an experiment, an experiment to the unknown, but we know that there is a need for our Filipino teacher to have an information that is well thought out in a way that you would have the ability to adapt and transform your pedagogical practices once you come here in the United States as an immigrant teacher. So thank you both so much from the bottom of my heart. We are going to close this for now, this conversation, pero magpapatuloy po tayo sa next na time. So I'll stop the recording.
Thank you, Ma'am Rolene.
Maraming salamat din.